Ranger Super Duty. Obviously, this truck's going to have like a heavy duty suspension, a rear differential, probably maybe 8 bolts, wheels. Everything's going to be more Super Duty to handle all that weight. Did Ford just launch the new Ranger Super Duty? Well, they just announced a future model for the Australian and New Zealand market, the Ranger Super Duty. So what exactly is the Super Duty version of the Ranger? Well, we don't have a lot of details, but it's coming for 2026, and it's going to be able to tow up to 9,920 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Just to compare to the regular Ranger, the regular Ranger can tow up to 7,500 pounds, and an F-150 equipped with the 2.7 liter EcoBoost can tow up to 8,500 pounds. So that's quite the statement for this new Ranger Super Duty. So exactly what it's gonna be, this new model, well, I'm not really sure. I don't think it's going to be a dually. The rumor is it's going to be probably the upcoming hybrid version of the Super Duty. This Ranger equipped with the hybrid combines the EcoBoost engine, the 2.3 liters, with an electrical system with a big battery and all that. So that might be the case. This Ranger will be heavier with more torque, more power. So maybe this Ranger is going to be able to tow more weight. So is it a good idea to bring a Super Duty? Is there a market for here in the US and Canada? I think so too. As of right now, there's no confirmation from Ford this truck's gonna come here. But you know, after seeing all the posts from the CEO and some other guys at Ford who they are based in the US, they seems to be quite excited about that new model. Usually those guys don't push a lot of news or content about, you know, products in Europe or Asia or Australia. But it seems that Australian products seems quite exciting for them. So from my point of view, I think after seeing those posts on Instagram and all that from the CEO and all these guys, I think it might come sooner than we can expect in the US and Canada. Usually they don't post a lot of content about those products from other, you know, part of the world because they don't want the US, you know, customer and Canadian customer to get excited about a product they will never get. And after seeing all those post content about this Super Duty Ranger, that just tells me there's a bright future if you're interested in that model. So there's really a need for this kind of model for our market. Well, first of all, you know, in Australia, there is a market for that because there's no F-150 in Australia. So this new Ranger Super Duty with this max towing capacity will become the king of the hill, beating the Toyota Hilux. If you don't know what is a Toyota Hilux, this is like the Toyota Tacoma in other part of the world. But they're going to become like the top dog for towing in those market. But I believe there's space for this kind of Ranger Super Duty here. There's always like a sweet spot between models. I could say customer were requesting, especially back in the days when I used to work at Ford. There was always a lot of people who wanted to have like a smaller truck with tons of capacities because they didn't want to have like an F-150. So the Ranger, smaller, narrower, maybe fits inside of your garage. Maybe an F-150 4 doors doesn't fit. But on the weekend, you want to tow your camper who's 9,000 pounds. That makes a lot of sense. And using that Super Duty, sub-brand. When I talk about sub-brands, Ford's got plenty of really good sub-brands. They have Super Duty, Raptor, Mustang, Bronco. All these sub-brands are really powerful. And I think Ford's going to utilize those brands to push new products on the market, and it's really smart from my point of view than just making up something new out of nowhere. Because people, when they see the Super Duty brand, they have in mind this is a tough truck. This is a lot of capacities. This is that's a truck to work with. Just like an F250, 350, 450. So making a Ranger Super Duty makes a lot of sense. I believe F-150 Super Duty also would make a lot of sense, because there was a lot of people asking for tons of capacities, but they didn't want to make the step into the F-250, because when you're right in that sweet spot of 15,000 pounds, you're just at the beginning of the F-250 capacities, but you're really maxing out your F-150. So there was always like a sweet spot for a F-200, I could say. And there was a lot of people doesn't need to tow all the time, but when they're towing a lot of weight, but they don't want to spend the money to step up inside of a F-250 and maybe buy the diesel. And in that case, they were stuck with the gasoline option. The gasoline option are quite thirsty. They're not really efficient compared to an EcoBoost engine inside an F-150. There's a big difference between, driving on a daily basis an F-250 gasoline compared to an F-150 with an EcoBoost, for just an example, or a V8. So there's always been like kind of like a sweet spot. And even if you see the advertising on TV, the F-150 is able to tow up to 13,500 pounds or 14,000 pounds. It's not all the F-150 who can do that. Like I said, back in the day when I was on the floor of Ford and working with the Ford Trucks team, there's only one truck who really can tow that amount of weight. And we used to call it the unicorn. It's a special package with special steel wheels with 8 bolts on it, special AV duty suspension, the highest differential ratio, special setup also for the truck. So a specific engine, specific cab, specific bed, and all those things mixed together makes that only one truck was able to tow that amount of weight. And of course, it's not a 4x4. It's a rear-wheel drive F-150. So if you think your F-150 Power Boost or EcoBoost Platinum Crew Cab 4x4 can tow 14,000 pounds, it's not the case. More luxury you put inside of your truck, 4x4, sunroof, whatever you put inside of your truck, it reduces the amount of weight you're able to tow with your truck. So that's basically how it works. So, back in the day, I used to I drove I drove the Unicorn at GM. I drove the 3500 HD. Was able to tow 36,000 pounds. It's a dually short bed, single cab. It rides like a rock. It's really the duty of this truck is towing, nothing else. That's what it was made for. But if we go back to the Ranger Super Duty, obviously this truck's gonna have like a heavy duty suspension, a rear differential, probably maybe 8 bolts, wheels. Everything's going to be more Super Duty to handle all that weight. The big question is which powertrain they're going to use for this truck. Is it going to be the 2.7 EcoBoost? Inside of the F-150, it's able to tow up to 8,500 pounds. The Ranger and the F-150, it's surprising they're about the same weight, so that's not a big difference between those two. Towing, it's not all about the engine and the transmission. The frame's got to be heavy duty too, and there's a bunch of components that need to be improved to tow all that amount of weight. But I don't think it's going to be something special. Like a diesel engine, we're not getting here. If it's the hybrid, probably we're going to be able to bring it here in the US and also in Canada. So that's a good news. if it's the hybrid powertrain and that hybrid powertrain is able to do these kind of job, I think that's probably going to be the future of all the Super Duty, especially the F250, 350, 450. There's been a lot of rumors. The next generation is going to be a hybrid or maybe a full electric with a range extender, but a big, a serious one. It's not a tiny engine, like maybe a V8 5-liter Coyote who's gonna be able to recharge the battery. When we're thinking about this kind of powertrain, it's similar to what they're using in trains. So the trains can tow a lot of weight and they have tons of torque. So that would make sense probably for a future in the Super Duty world. I made another episode about this in my French-Canadian podcast, talking about the future of the Super Duty, the F250, 350, and all that. Because here in Canada, we have a factory who used to build the Ford Edge, the Ford Flex, and all that. So that factory was supposed to build the next generation 3-row full electric SUV, but that plan was canceled. So instead of doing this electric SUV, they are gonna build the next generation Super Duty. So and there was a lot of rumors the next generation is gonna be hybrid. So if they're launching something hybrid with the Super Duty nameplate on it in Australia, that might be the place to really test these technology, especially in rugged terrain like Australia, and learn from this market and learn from the customer base like that on a smaller truck. And then with that experience, they're going to bring it into the big trucks, the 250, 350 and all that. That's what I think. That's my, prediction for this truck. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about the Ranger Super Duty? Which powertrain do you think they're going to use? Do you think this truck's going to come to the US and Canada? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And we're going to see each other on the next podcast.